Mr. Poppleton is an Alien by Nanny Linda. Kyle pulled up into his drive, arriving home from work one day, feeling tired and very stressed with his new boss, Mr. May. He looked across to his neighbour's house, Abe Poppleton, at number 5, and thought he saw him floating as if on a magic carpet ride. There was a green hue all around him and an orange glow on top of his head, and where his normal ears should have been, they were trumpet-shaped instead. Kyle shook his head and went indoors, laughing all the while, said hello to his wife Michelle and gave a cheeky smile. "You'll never believe what I've just seen while looking over to next door. Abe Poppleton appeared to be floating way above the floor." "Oh no," she cried in mock horror and laughed as she stirred the beef stew. "I expect he is an alien put on Earth to spy on you." So then Kyle said, "Maybe it's fancy dress and he is practicing for Halloween. Either way, I know I'm not mad, and I know just what I've seen." They both laughed and ate their dinner, followed by a dessert of chocolate cake. Then they settled down to watch a film about a monster in a lake. As neighbours go, Mr. Poppleton was quiet and kept to himself, always polite and mannerly, and seemed to be in good health. He hadn't been their neighbour very long, arrived a few months ago. Where he came from and what he did, nobody seemed to know. One day, while Mr. Poppleton was out shopping at the store, a strange-shaped parcel arrived for him and was left with Kyle and Michelle at number 4. Later, Kyle tried to deliver the parcel, and while walking up Mr. Poppleton's garden path, he heard a very strange language and some voices and a squeaky, eerie laugh. As the door was ajar, Kyle shouted, "Hello, anyone at home? I've got a package for you, Mr. Poppleton, but if you have company, I'll leave you alone." "Kyle, young man," laughed Mr. Poppleton, "this is a pleasant surprise. Come on in with my package. I was just doing my yoga exercise." Kyle then glanced into the living room and saw the most colourful rug. "Is that where you practice your exercise?" Kyle asked. "Oh yes," said Mr. Poppleton, "I've got the yoga bug." Kyle went back home, feeling puzzled, dizzy, with a muzzy aching head. The colourful rug had made his eyes blurred, and he couldn't remember what Mr. Poppleton had said. Michelle thought he was coming down with a bug and made him have a lie down, and then she went out shopping to get some medicine from town. When Michelle went to the chemist, Mr. Poppleton was at the makeup stand, looking through all the foundation creams and testing them on his hand. She couldn't wait to get home and tell Kyle exactly what she had just seen. Maybe he is an alien, she thought, and he is covering up skin that is green. That night there was an awful storm that woke Kyle with a scream and a groan, and he began to remember what had happened while he was in Mr. Poppleton's home. There was a light sphere at Mr. Poppleton's that hovered just above the colourful rug, with lights that circled around it and gold symbols that hovered above. Kyle jumped out of bed and rubbed his head, then peered out into the storm. And there, in next door's garden, a green alien began to form. But wait! Now he realised it was Mr. Poppleton, and he saw Kyle and gave him a long stare. And he was absolutely starkers, all green with orange hair. Then there was a high-pitched noise and a whirring sound, and Kyle looked into the night sky, and he saw colourful spheres flying everywhere, some floating and some whizzing by. Kyle shouted to his wife Michelle, "Wake up! Wake up! Mr. Poppleton has turned green with orange hair. We're being invaded by aliens, and their little warp ships are everywhere." Michelle mumbled something about the storm and then said, "Kyle, come back into bed. You must have got a temperature that is messing with your head." Kyle ran down the stairs in a panic and flung open the front door, tripping over a garden chair. There was no storm, no rain, no alien spheres, and no green Mr. Poppleton with orange hair. He sat in the garden chair for a while to calm down and gather his thoughts, then went back inside and hunted around for the medicine that Michelle had bought. For the rest of the night, Kyle tossed and turned. Then when the alarm buzzed, he was bleary-eyed. He turned on the TV to watch the news, to see if aliens had arrived. He thought he would put his overactive mind at ease and pay a visit to Mr. Poppleton next door, and he saw that the front door was open to an empty house and there was rainwater on the floor. He shouted a few times with no response, calling Mr. Poppleton's name, so feeling more puzzled than ever, he then returned home again. He told Michelle about everything, and they both sat in total awe. "I think we had better inform the police," she said, "but don't mention what you saw. We'll just say that our neighbour is missing and he was there just yesterday, and let the police handle the situation, and we'll just keep out of the way." The policeman who called said to Kyle and Michelle, "No one has lived in the house since Mrs. Gill, and she passed away 3 years ago without ever leaving a will." "I think you must have been dealing with squatters," he said. "It happens from time to time. Don't worry, it's now in the hands of a researcher working on any distant relatives that he can find." "Oh, there is just one other thing," he said, "of which we are unsure. There were several tubes of foundation cream lying on the bathroom floor." "I guess squatters too like their makeup," the policeman said with a grin. "We've taken them for fingerprints and we'll let you know if we find anything." The policeman then left with a wave of his hand, leaving Kyle and Michelle with their minds racing in deep thought again. "See," said Kyle, "I know what I saw and I told you so. Mr. Poppleton is an alien.